Hello everybody, it's Riff Raff Hornhelm here again with another review. Today we're going to go into something that all of us here in the HornhelmClan have been looking forward to for quite some time but haven't seen yet before today. Today we're going to talk about a dwarf, and that's the best. So, and without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to our ace reviewer, Red Hornhelm, and he's going to take you through the wonderful story of the dwarf in today's review, Glorock Ironbeard. Have fun. We'll see you afterwards. Hello, it's Red Hornhelm, and I'm back once again with another review, and finally a review about a dwarf. And I'm really excited about that because we don't get to do that often enough. And that's the truth. So, let's talk about Glorock Ironbeard. He is a dwarf fighter who resides in the world of D&D 5e. And he's brought to us by the wonderful Michael, who happens to be a player located in, get this folks, Boulder, Colorado. So you know he's going to be a great dwarf. You gotta like that right off the bat. It's something I really, really, really enjoy. Okay, let's talk a little bit about our friend Glorock here. He's a dwarf fighter. He wears scale mail. He carries a big, heavy-duty round shield and a warhammer. I'm already loving this guy. Now, he's not Hornhelm. He's an Ironbeard. But that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. He's a dwarf, and that means you're getting the best, because dwarves rock. So, he looks the part of a fighter. He has the appearance and the demeanor of a fighter, and as a dwarf, he's somewhat gruff and to the point, a real dwarf's dwarf, if you know what I mean. Absolutely fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the things he has done from an epic success and epic failure standpoint. Now, from an epic success standpoint, he did an amazing thing. He was asleep. Well, sorry, he shouldn't have been asleep, but he was dozing as he was busy being on watch in a dungeon where nothing much had been going on. And as he's dozing, he's startled, fully awake, and sees a troll with a group of orcs behind him, sneaking up on the party to ambush them in their sleep. What a horrible deed. But when you have a dwarf, you're safe, because he woke up, rolled over, picked up his crossbow, stood up, and even though he stumbled, shot his crossbow, hit the troll in the foot, pinning it to the ground. So how could this result in something that is so epic when it comes to a success? Well, by pinning it to the ground, the troll then, unable to pull his foot up and rolling badly, pivoted around that that steel coral shaft that was nailing his foot to the ground. And when he pivoted around, his arms were flung wide, the club in the end of his arms. What he managed to do is he managed to sweep the ground behind him. All of the orcs who had been following him got nailed, knocked down, disrupted, giving the party the time it needed to get up and finish the job, including our friend the dwarf. Glorock pulled out his axe, walked over, and beheaded the troll, while his fellow colleagues fell upon the rest of the orcs, and they were saved. No ambush, nobody killed, nobody taken away, and in fact, they got treasure out of the deal by killing the would-be ambushers. Now that's amazing. That is definitely a success. So, I asked a few of my colleagues, what did you think of this stellar success from Glorock the Dwarf? And here's what they had to say.
Well, that epic success was truly epic, and come on, can we really expect any less from a dwarf? He was falling, he had stumbled, which is understandable, he was still groggy, but he stumbled, and still, with his crossbow, managed to make that shot into that troll's foot, and the troll took out his own supporting party, ending an ambush. I mean, that's how you do it. Even if you're making a mistake at that point, you're still winning.
I agree. No one could do it with more style than a dwarf. I'll have to say that's one of the cooler stories I've heard. And let me tell you, like I keep saying, there's no fighter and no weapon better than a dwarven one.
Now, combine that with the rest of the HornhelmClan that I've spoken to on this subject, and it's clear that dwarves, as always, rock. And he did a great job. And we looked at this success, and whether he's a dwarf or not, we still think it's an 8. So we're going to give him an 8 out of 10. Awesome. And you've heard it here from not just me, but also from Ingot and Chit Chat, and you can tell we were really united on this one. So let's talk about failures then. What could have happened that's so bad that got this dwarf into trouble? Well, first off, I guess I need to point out to you that Glorock is no longer in the land of the living, and his failure was epic and regrettably fatal. Him and his colleagues, his fellow adventurers, were busy fighting a mob of undead zombies mainly, but all kinds of bad stuff. And while they were fighting them and trying to eliminate them, they had a worthy cleric who, unable to turn them all, was still keeping the vast majority of them at bay, using his clerical abilities, strengthened through his deity and his commitment to the safety of his fellow players. Glorock, in the midst of everything, fighting, destroying, smushing zombies and ghouls and skeletons and all the evil undead, unfortunately had a critical miss. The critical miss ended up with him striking the cleric. What can I say? Sometimes bad things happen. This isn't just on dwarves, but it was epic. He hit the cleric, knocked him out. Now all of the undead swarmed over the adventurers party and killed them all and ate them up. Unfortunately, Glorock was lost, but he went down fighting, and he never ever gave up. Just got a little too enthusiastic, but that's a dwarf, and we love to fight, so we understand that. So I asked my fellow colleagues once again what they thought of his epic failure.
I mean, everybody makes mistakes. This was a pretty big one, I will admit, but nobody's perfect.
And every good dwarf goes down fighting. He didn't stay on the sidelines like a elf and not fight with his party. I mean, yeah, sure, they all died, but at least they went down fighting.
They went down fighting, and at least he wasn't at range with a bow like an elf.
Now, there's not much to argue about here, is there? Yes, it was an epic failure, but it was a dwarven epic failure, which ranks even higher than a normal epic failure. And it truly was epic. Not only did he die, but everybody died. All the good guys, at least. So, okay, you've seen what we've had to say about it. In talking with the rest of my colleagues, we all agree. In terms of epic failure, we think this is our first 9, and we're going to give him a 9. So he's already up to 17. And then we had a discussion about overall appearance. How does this blended character look to us? Well, we think he looks pretty awesome. Of course, he's a dwarf, so that makes it easy. We think on overall impression, this is a really tough fighter. Epic success, epic failures. We're going to go ahead and give him an 8 out of 10. So, you had a 8 out of 10 on the success, a 9 out of 10 on the failure, and an 8 on the overall. That's amazing, right? That's 25. I think that's the highest score we've had so far, but of course it's a dwarf, so that doesn't surprise me. What an epic character. We really enjoyed having him on the show today. Thanks, Mike from Boulder, for bringing this to us. We think your character rocks, and we look forward to doing another review again very soon. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Remember, dwarves rock, and I'm Red Hornhelm, and you're not. So that was pretty amazing. It's not every day that you get an awesome dwarf like that. One of the things that we forgot to mention even was whether or not we would have him in our party. Well, that's clearly he would fit in our party. It's dwarf. I think he would have a great time. We would have a great time with him. So, yes, we would definitely have him in the party, and we'd be happy to have him stand pretty much anywhere in that party because he's a dwarf, and dwarves rock. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was an interesting, fantastic story about a dwarf, and one for which we must pay our respects since he is no longer with us, having had a fatal end to his character. But an epic end. And that's what you got to do. If you're going to die, do it doing something epic and worthwhile. So, if you enjoyed, give us a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, come back and see us again soon. And remember, dwarves rock.